All right, so you can see from the Unit 6 Lesson 3 page that we are still talking about percents and we're still talking about proportions. Now, the first day that we talked about this, we were only looking for the percent. We were always giving you the, 6 out of 12 or 9 out of 15. Well, now what we're going to see is that any of those numbers could be the missing number that we're looking for. For example, we are always going to have there is some sort of part number, and we're always going to have some sort of whole number. Now, one of those might be the thing we're looking for, but you'll notice that the word is next to part and the word of next to whole. The reason we do that, you'll notice the part number where you're like, this is the part of the group, usually accompanied by the word is. For example, 22 is. Okay, that tells us it's the part number that goes in the numerator. What percent of 30? Well, the word of usually accompanies the number that belongs in the denominator, like out of 30. So what this question is really saying, it's saying 22 out of 30. And you'll notice that there's a question in the middle. What percent? We're looking for the percent. So it's always going to be the part over the whole or the is number over the of number. So we're saying 22 is what percent of 30? And then the other side would have your x over the 100%. The thing we don't know in this case is the percent. So that's our x, that's our variable. Once we get it set up, the rest is smooth sailing, right? We cross multiply, we get 30x equals 22 times 100, divide both sides by 30, and x equals, in this case, 73.3 repeating. Now, the thing we were looking for was a percent, right? What percent? So we have to make sure we label it as a percent. What does it mean? The original question said 22 is what percent of 30? We would say 22 is 73.3 repeating percent of 30. Period. End of sentence. All we're doing is filling in the blank, the thing we don't know. So if we look at the next one, what is 2% of 360? Now, when I read that, I noticed the of 360 first, that I've got an of number. The interesting thing was there's a percent symbol in this one. That percent number is also going to be given to us sometimes. And if we know the percent number, that's the thing that goes over 100. So we know it's out of 360. We know it's 2% out of 100%. The thing we don't know is the part, the is number. So that's where our x goes. What is? We don't know. What is? What's the is number? What's the part number? And at this point, now that we've got all the pieces plugged in, we would do 2 times 360 and x times 100. So 100x equals, I've got to do 2 times 360. Maybe I can, maybe I can't do it in my head, but it is worth 720. And then I've got 100x, so I divide both sides by 100. X equals 7.2. Now, the thing that was missing was the part number, right? The thing that was missing was not the percent. They gave us the percent, so this does not get a percent symbol, and we would say 7.2 is 2% of 360, right? The missing thing we were looking for, x, the is number, was the 7.2. I do tend to keep my highlighters when I'm doing this, especially in the beginning. I highlight and pick colors. You can notice I picked green, pink, and blue. You can pick whatever colors you have available or whatever works for you. So I'm going to keep this little piece here available. I might write the short version, which is over of equals percent over 100. That's usually what I write. If I'm taking a quiz, if I'm taking a test, if I'm working on my homework, I usually write this as a little short, small reminder. So 66 is the next question. Okay, well, there's my is number. There's my pink number that goes on top. Then I see there's a percent symbol, which means I know the percent is 29%. The thing I don't know is the of what number? Of. I don't know the of number, so I don't know the number that goes in the bottom, that whole of number. So is over of, 66 over x. 66 of what number? We don't know. 29% out of 100%. Setting up the problem is the majority of the problem because now it's that same old at this point. 29 times x equals 66 times 100 or 6,600. divide both sides by 29, and you're going to get kind of a messy answer. It's approximately 227.59, and I had to round, so I'm going to switch that from an equal sign to approximately. The thing I was looking for was not a percent. They gave me the percent, so I am not going to put a percent sign on there. So I'm going to say 66 is 29% of 227.59. And I'm going to sneak in here the word about, because I did have to round that answer. So 66 is about 29% of 227.9. Last but not least, in this section, 35%. So again, they gave me the percent of 139. So they gave me the out of number. That's that blue one that goes on the bottom. And the thing I don't know, the is number, is what number? I don't know. So that's where my X goes in the is spot. So is was on the top, the part was on the top, out of 139. You'll notice it's of 139 equals 35% out of 100%. And once all those spots are plugged in, I do not know 35 times 139 off the top of my head. So I'm going to write it down, 35 times 139, because I can't do it. I can't do it mentally. It is 100x equals 4865. And I divide both sides by 100 to get x equals 48.65. I had the percent. I'm not looking for a percent, so I do not put a percent symbol on that answer. The question said 35% of 139 is 48.65. The 48.65 being my answer. So on the first question in this set, the thing we were looking for was a percent. That's the answer that we solved for. So we put a percent sign on there. In the second question, the thing we didn't know was the is number. So the 7.2 is, that's the thing we were looking for. And notice, did not put a percent symbol. On the third one, 66 is 29% of what number? So I was looking for the of number, the thing I solved for. And last, is what number? I was looking for that part, that top is number. And so that's what I solved for. So you do have to be really aware of whether you're being asked to find a percent or something that's not a percent. Some real world stuff here. Solve the following word problems by setting up and solving a proportion. The regular price of a smartphone is $180, but it is on sale at a 25% discount. How much is the discount? So what they're really asking us to find is 25% of 180. We're trying to find how much they're going to mark this off by. So 25% has a percent symbol, and it's out of 180. The thing we don't know is the part they're going to take. So what is the part they're going to take off out of the $180 price? They're taking 25% off. You'll notice that the 180 is 100% of the price, right? Both those numbers are on the bottom. We're looking for 25% of the price, which is the part that's going to go on top. When I cross multiply, I do the 25 times the 180 and the 100 times the x. I don't do 25 times 180 off the top of my head, so I write it down. 100x equals 4,500. One algebra step, divide both sides by 100, and x is 45. Now, what's the 45? Let's read the question again. The regular price of a smartphone is $180, but it is on sale at a 25% discount. So 45, the thing we were looking for, the part they're going to take off, the is number. So they're going to take $45 off. So there's going to be a $45 discount. So the sign might say 25% off, but that's worth $45. 25% of 180 is a $45 discount. The wrap-up question, so what's the sale price? You're going to take that original price of 180 and take off the $45. The phone is $135 on sale because we just take away the $45 sale. All right, Julie bought a sweater that had a price of $48. She also had to pay 7% sales tax. Now, in New Hampshire, we don't have sales tax. If you go to 48 out of the 50 states, they do have a sales tax. And that's where you pay an extra 7% on top of the price that's on the tag. So we need to find 7% of $48. 7% of 48. So we were given the percent, 7%, and it's out of 48. 48 is the total price of the sweater. So this one's really going to be set up the same, even though it means something a little different. We're trying to find the part of the $48 that they're going to take off if they're taking off, not taking off, adding on, right? Because we have to pay 7% sales tax. So we're going to pay an extra 7%. Well, how much is 7% of 48? So we would cross multiply 100 times X has to equal the 48 times 7. So 48 times 7 is 336. Divide both sides by 100. X equals 3.36. Now that's $3.36 that we're going to have to pay in tax. Right? So we have to pay the $48 for the sweater, and on top of that, an extra $3.36 tax. So over here, I'm going to say $48 plus $3.36. That's how I'm going to get my final price. And I would say the total for the sweater is $51.36. $51.36. And this is really important. If you got, like, say, a $50 gift card for Christmas and you walk into a store in Massachusetts and there were a 7% sales tax, that $50 gift card would not be enough, because $48 for the sweater plus $3.36 for tax, you would need $51.36. Your gift card would be $1.36 short once they added the tax on. All right. Now, Netflix started as a company that originally rented DVDs, a lot like you see Redbox outside of Price Chopper. So this question, a little dated. Netflix rented 1,940 DVDs during a month. If 38% of the rented movies were comedies, how many comedy DVDs were rented? So we need to start thinking now about the part and the whole. It says Netflix rented 1,940 DVDs during a month. Then they're talking about how some of them are comedies. So the 1,940, that's your whole. That's all of the DVDs that were rented. So that number is the one that goes on the bottom. They also gave us a percent. 38% of the rented movies. So 38% of the 1940. So this is our percent. The thing we don't know, how many are comedies? We know 38% are comedies, but how many actual physical DVDs were comedies? So we would say, how many, what part were comedies out of the 1,940 that were rented if 38% were comedies out of all 100% of the rentals? Once you set it up, you're like, of course that makes sense. How many out of 1940? So you cross multiply. So 100 times X equals the 38 times 1,940, which nobody does off the top of their head, or I should say very few people do that off the top of their head. And you get 73,720, which is not our final answer because we have our one algebra step of dividing by 100. X is approximately, now if I move this in two places, you'll notice it's 737.2, but we can't have 737.2 movies. So we're going to say approximately 737. So when we write our final answer, because again, this is a word problem, we would say about 737 of the rentals were comedy or comedies. And that would be our answer to the word problem. Now, if you wrote 737, 0.2 up here, your final answer would need to have the whole number. And either way, that would be fine as long as your final answer makes sense. You can't rent 0.2 of a movie. On a 35 question exam, you needed to get 90% of the questions correct to earn an A. You answered 31 questions correctly. Did you earn an A? So what do I know? What information have I gathered? Well, it says it's a 35 question exam. That means in total, there are 35 questions, right? Out of, that's our of number because that's our whole. It's out of 35 questions. If it were a quiz or a test for me, that'd be the number at the top in parentheses, so you knew there were 35 points available. And then it says you needed to get 90% of the questions correct to earn an A. Now, technically, there's two ways to attack this problem. you can find 90% of 35 and say, this is the number. This is how many I need to get. However, you'll notice it did tell you what you got. You answered 31 questions correctly. Well, that's the part that you answered correctly out of the whole. So it's really easiest and probably most useful for you to say, I got 31 out of 35. What percent did I earn? So I got a 31 out of 35. What percent out of the 100 that was available? Now, if I had gotten a 35 out of 35, I would have earned a 100. 35 times x, 31 times 100 is 3100, and divide both sides by 35. X is approximately 88.6. We were looking for a percent, so we would say approximately 88.6%. So you would say you needed to get 90% to get an A. So your answer to the word problem, did you earn an A? You would say, I earned an 88.6%, so not an A. Now, for those of you willing to stick it out for an extra, maybe 30 seconds, if you did the problem the other way that I had mentioned, you could have said, what out of 35 is a 90%? And I know some kids do this at the start of tests and quizzes. They're like, if I want a 90, how many do I need to get right? So 90% of 35. So if you do 100 times x equals 90 times 35, and you'd have to do 90 times 35, which is 3150, divide both sides by 100, x equals 31.5. You could have done this question slightly differently and said, I need to earn 31.5 points, or I need to get 31.5 questions right to get an A. So I needed 31.5 correct to earn an A. So no, like you only got 31, right? It said you answered 31 questions correctly. Well, if the bar was 31.5, then you did not get 31.5 or more in order to earn an A. So two different ways technically that you could approach that problem. I think the first one probably a little bit more informative, so you actually know what your grade is. This second option is a little bit more on the front end. When you get the quiz and you first put it on your desk and you're like, what do I need in order to get an A? That's what you would do here. But if you're just getting the test or the quiz back and you're like, oh, what did I get? That would be more like, I earned a 31 out of 35. I earned about 88.6%.